Welcome to another edition of I Am AAPC. I am AAPC Alex, and today helping me is from the national office is Heather Johnson. Heather, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am great. Thanks so much for doing this. And just so our audience knows, Heather will be taking on one of these I Am AAPC interviews a month. So I'll have one and she'll have one, and you'll get to see the different faces at the national office. So Heather, thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this and helping us learn more about Halee Garner.
I am happy to be here. Halee, thank you for being here.
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
So Halee, you reached out to me via from HealthCon this past spring, and you mentioned, you kind of told us a little bit about your story, but why don't you just tell our members a little bit about what led you into the to the business of healthcare and that path that you're on right now?
Okay, so I actually kind of got into coding by, in a way, accident. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college, and somebody mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I'll just do that in the interim until I figure out what I want to do with my life. So I took a coding class, and that's kind of how I got into medical coding, and I love it. So
did you have any idea then of what you wanted to do in college, or you're just taking it just to kind of experience a bunch of different classes and see where you may lead?
I went to two different options, teaching, and then I thought about pharmacy, but I became a pharmacy tech and realized I'd love to be a pharmacy tech, but I didn't think pharmacist was really for me. So
yeah. And had you ever thought about the clinical side of healthcare?
Not really. I've done all sorts of pharmacy as far as behind the scenes in the hospital and up front in a retail store, but I've never really considered the clinical side of healthcare for myself.
So what was the appeal of medical coding for you?
Honestly, I didn't even know what it was when I signed up for the class. So I just kind of jumped in head first to something that I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But once I got into it, I'm a very thought-driven numbers person, and so I really liked it once I got started.
Awesome. Heather, do you have any questions for Halee?
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what kind of organization or facility are you working at right now? And do you like it? Is that like a specialty you want to stay in, or you want to branch out?
So right now I'm working for a gastroenterology office, and I absolutely love it. I do the procedure coding, but I actually have recently been offered a new position that I'm really excited to start soon in an oncology.
Congratulations.
So, thanks.
That's what I love about this industry is you may start at coding, but there's so many different paths you can take, and here you are about to jump into Q&A.
Yes.
Did you ever think that you'd leave coding? I mean, you'll still be in it to a degree, but did you ever see yourself going into QA or auditing and things?
I actually recently got my auditing certification, and so that was kind of something I wanted to do, is more the auditing side of things, and I really like teaching, so I think this will be a really good combination of the two.
Yes. So take us back to that class. So you're in this college class, you're thinking, I think I could like this. This could be it for my career. Yeah. And from there, did you just take more college classes on coding, or did you land into the AAPC world from there? Tell us about that journey.
I decided to take a medical coding and billing class online. And from there, I decided that the CPC was kind of the best option for me from there. And that's kind of how I got into AAPC to begin with.
Okay. So how long have you been a member for now, Halee?
Since 2018.
Okay. All right. So all of this is pretty new.
Pretty new, yeah.
Yeah, 4 years into it. That's so exciting.
Yep.
And did this online course help prepare you for the CPC exam?
Yes, I would say so. It was very thorough in both inpatient and outpatient coding, and I felt very prepared for the CPC. But one thing I also found helpful is just getting on the Facebook groups and stuff and seeing the other questions AAPC members were asking to prepare for this exam and reading that stuff to better prepare myself.
Okay, so you found the resources to help you. And
Yes.
the AAPC Facebook group is huge, tens of thousands of members.
Yes.
Such a wide variety of members, from students to veteran coders in there. And you just threw your questions in there and you had the help that you needed.
Yep, pretty much.
That's exciting. Awesome. That's so great to hear. Now, Halee, tell me about the exam and preparing for the exam, because it's long, it's tough. Did it live up to its billing for you?
Yes, it is a very long and tedious exam that you have to be very, very organized with your time. And one thing I appreciated about that is it's the same thing in the workplace. Like, you have to be constantly reviewing and working. It's not something that you can just stop and go take a nap, like.
Yeah.
So
did you
I
feel
thought
like,
that was good about it.
sorry, Alex,
No,
I'm
go
just
for it.
curious, do you feel like the exam was reflective of like the real world work that you were doing?
I do. I'm very specialized in what I do right now. So there was a lot on the exam, obviously, I don't use, but I did feel like it was reflective in knowing your modifiers and knowing, the different G codes versus the regular codes and stuff like that.
Great.
I love that. Yeah, and one thing I hear, Heather, is related to that question is, it's not about all of the information that you have in your brain. It's about knowing where to find it in the books, because no one can memorize
Yes.
everything in those
Yeah.
books. So would you agree
100%.
with that? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So you take the exam. Tell us about that day in your CPC exam. Well, back then we didn't have it online.
Right.
That wasn't an option. So you took it, I guess, locally.
I did. I actually lived in one place that didn't really have an exam for a while. So I took it and where my parents lived at the time in Oklahoma City. And it was a big test. Like, I was surprised about how many people were taking the test, and like I wasn't really ready for that. Like, I was kind of expecting more of just a few people, like didn't know how many were going into the field and stuff at the time. So
Awesome. And do you have any tips for anybody who is watching on what they can do to have a better exam experience? Like, did you bring anything in with you? I guess you probably had your code books tabbed and marked. Tell us about what things and resources you did to help have a great experience.
One thing I did is definitely get organized the night before. Don't just wait till that morning and throw crap in a bag and go, but mark your books, make the notes you need to. That's an option, and that's a great option, because I used my notes in both my CPC and CPMA exam, and those really help you not stress so much at the time of the test.
Okay, good. So you take the exam. How did you feel after that?
Tired. I definitely was mentally worn out, but I was confident I passed. And I actually didn't have to wait. I was less than a week before I found out. So that was exciting to not have to wait like some people do for a while.
Yes. So you were well prepared. I mean, to take the exam and come out feeling like very confident.
Yeah.
You were well. So what? Tell us about your preparation, actually. So what kind of things did you do to help you get that confidence that you had?
I studied a lot. And honestly, that's the best thing you can do. Become familiar with your books, become familiar with the modifiers and where to find them and where to find them quickly, and do practice tests. I found the practice tests very helpful. And there were some questions I had on both the practice test and the test, so definitely, doing what you can to prepare so that you're less stressed at the time of the exam.
Yes, I'd say that is one common theme that I see in the group is practice exams.
Oh, yes.
It's worth the cost. I mean, it's not even that expensive. It's pretty affordable.
Yeah, no, I think the practice tests were very helpful for, like I said, both the CPC and CPMA.
Okay, awesome. That's great to hear. Heather, do you have any questions for Halee?
Yeah, I just was wondering, it sounds like the Facebook community was really helpful too, which I love. I'm wondering if you took advantage of other, and the practice tests, also love that. If you took advantage of other things like the local chapter, like the AAPC local chapters, or if there were other resources that AAPC provided, or maybe not even provided by AAPC, that you felt supported you in the exam and finding your first job.
I actually moved kind of halfway across the country right after my AAPC exam for a billing position. And at that time, I was able to get involved with the chapter. And that actually really did help me find positions open to be able to get my first actual coding position, which was really helpful. I would just say the chapter was very helpful at the time.
Great. I love that.
I love that too. And I love to hear local chapters paving that way, helping you pave that way to your first job, because that is one of the most seen discussions in the group is how do I get that first job? If you could go back and do it again, Halee, would you have joined your local chapter when you were a student, or was your local chapter not very active? Tell us about that.
Where I lived at the time I was a student, there really wasn't a local chapter that was super active. And so that was one thing I kept reading online that you needed to do. And I was kind of wanting that community. But whenever I did relocate, it was available and I tried to take advantage of it.
Okay. And so you make these relationships at your local chapter, but you already had a job.
Yes.
So actually take us back to that. So even before you found your chapter, you're a new CPCA, and how did you get this billing job? Because you're certified as a coder. Tell us about that.
Right. So I had taken this billing and coding class and I had pharmacy experience. And I found a pharmacy billing position. And it was 1,000 miles from my house, but I was like, okay, let's try it. So I picked up and relocated to become a pharmacy biller. And it definitely helped me because I was able to do infusion coding in that position as well. And from there, I just kind of kept my eyes out for local coding positions, but continued to learn and grow in the position I was in at the same time.
I just want to say kudos to you. That sounds like really intimidating. I feel like to move 1,000 miles for a new career that was so foreign to you, I just think that's very brave. So, and just for my own knowledge, you were in Oklahoma, and then where did you move to, or are you in Oklahoma now?
I was in Kansas at the time.
Oh, you were in Oklahoma City. Sorry.
Yeah, I took my test in Oklahoma City, but I lived in Kansas and I moved to North Carolina, Asheville area.
Okay.
Did you have any connections out there in Asheville? I
didn't know. I met a few people on a cruise a little while back and they lived around there, and that was the only people I knew when I moved here.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, Halee, you're completely committed to this career path.
Yes, I am.
And it's been good. It's been worth it.
Yes, it 100% has. I've loved every minute of it. And when COVID hit, it did become remote, but there are definitely the benefits of being trained in the office. If I was to go back, I would definitely want to start in the office again.
Okay.
For your new role. Sorry, Alex, I've just got so many questions. I just think it's also interesting. So for your new role, is that going to be remote? Are you going to train in the office? How is that working?
It will be remote. Yes.
Cool.
Yep, it'll be out of Florida and I'll stay in North Carolina. So
Perfect. You didn't want to move again for another new position?
I was willing to if I needed to, but
I love your commitment.
Money talks, right, Halee?
Yep.
Well,
my dogs don't have much of a say in whether we move or stay. So
they're at your mercy.
Yeah.
yes.
Well, Halee, you mentioned that you recommend people work in the office for the first job, and we see many people coming into medical coding hoping that that first position is remote. Why do you say that? Why is it important, do you think, for a coder to start in an office?
I would definitely say it's important because I feel like the communication sometimes is better and you have the resources right at your hand there in the office, to just be like, hey, can you look at this chart and, help me with that. I have done contract work where it is completely remote and you start remote and you're definitely a lot more in a way on your own, like for learning things. But I felt like in the office, the community and the communication definitely helped. And when that went remote, it also helped. You knew these people, you felt comfortable with them and stuff like that. And that teamwork is definitely a plus for the office.
That's what I was going to say. I see Alex in meetings all the time, but when it's in office, there is something about like building that and like seeing someone in person, especially if you just moved and it's a new company and new people, and like being able to meet and interact with them in person so that when you need help later on.
Right.
That sounds like the best of both worlds. Like I like to be remote, but also I like to see people occasionally.
Oh yes, I do love working remote, but I do think working in the office does have a lot of perks too.
Yeah.
So you've worked in the office and at home. Tell us about what it's like being remote. Do you love it? Is it challenging? Will you ever go back to the office?
I do like working remote. I like that. I actually feel like I get more done just because I'm kind of more in my zone. You don't have people walking by you. You don't, but I do think if I wouldn't be opposed to working back in the office for, like I said, the reasons of communication.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And the position that you're in now, not the position you're going to shortly, is the position you're in now that first job that you had, that you
My
moved
first
out
coding position, yes.
Yeah. So okay. So you've been there for about 4 years.
About 3.5. Yeah.
3.5. Okay. All right. And then now you're, just opportunities are coming up, and this new position will be in the same or for the same facility that you're in now.
No, it is for a different, different company altogether.
Okay. Okay.
So.
All right. So tell me about your aspirations. You have these other certifications. You mentioned CPMA. You're no longer CPCA. I'm sure that's off by now.
Yes.
So tell us about all of the certifications that you have, even if they are not Aapc related.
So I have my CPC and CPMA, but I also have the CCA through AHEMA. And it's not coding related, but I do feel like it's helped me. I do have my pharmacy tech certification also. And I think that's helped with just like knowing drugs as far as which ones are brand name versus generic name and vice versa and stuff like that. So.
Could you have done this without certification?
I do not believe so. I think the certification helped me really prepare for real life. And I feel like it would be difficult to learn the position without a certification and having that background knowledge.
And then how about as an employer, do you think employers, do they seek those with certifications? Did that come up in this new position that you had applied for now that you'll be moving to?
I do think employers do look for those certifications. I do see sometimes, where people will promote from within, but then they'll still require that certification later. And there's positives to that because you're already in the, know the system and everything. But I do think a lot of employers do look for that certification because it does show you have the coding knowledge and the the guidelines and stuff like that going into it. And there's a little less learning curve.
Okay, that's awesome. And what do you see in your future? I mean, because you're going into Q&A right now, and you may be there for another 4 or 5 more years. Is that your dream to do that, or do you see yourself trying something different down the road?
So oncology has actually always kind of been my interest. And so going into this Q&A position, I'm excited to see what it leads to. And I can see myself staying in kind of the quality assurance area, but also I could see myself going into being an educator because I think it's really interesting to teach and teach people that are willing to learn, and they're there because that's something they're interested in. And that's another position I've considered.
Awesome. Heather, do you have any thoughts or questions?
I have 2 thoughts, a thought and a question. First of all, I think that's so great. You seem like so passionate and devoted that I think we need more people like that who are like instructors for the work that we do. So I think that's really cool. My question was just like regarding, do you want more credentials? Obviously you already have a lot of certifications. It's already very impressive. Do you think that you'll continue to do more? Are there more that appeal to you, or are you set?
So it's funny you asked that. I actually am taking a certification test in about 3 weeks.
Wow.
I'm gonna attempt the CHONC for oncology, even though I haven't quite worked in the field. I've been really studying and trying to go toward that as my next certification. But I can see myself being one of those people that's continually studying for certifications.
Love that.
She's going to be, Halee's going to be one of those members that when we have to write out her name on the blog or something, it's going to be like this huge old list of acronyms.
I know. I actually love this for you, Halee, but as someone who writes for them, whenever I see those, I'll be like, okay. And it's like a line of certification, but that's really impressive. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
What I think is cool too is that this oncology certification that you'll be sitting for the exam for shortly is a passion certification, right? It's something you just love. It's not like an employer is asking you to do this or anything.
No, but just whenever the opportunity presented itself in December when things were on sale, I was like, that's something I'm interested in. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens.
That's so cool.
I'm sorry, just to confirm, you saw that the certification, that all of that was on sale. And so you were like, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Yep.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
I love how much you love to learn. That's really cool.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I interviewed someone recently who their family had some connection with rheumatoid arthritis. I can't even say that right. But because of that, she took our arthritis specialty certification. So is there a reason that you love oncology so much? Had your family been stricken with cancer, or it's just something that you've always just been simply interested in?
It's something I've always kind of had an interest in, but a few years ago, my grandpa did pass, and I think he had liver cancer. And I think that did just kind of intrigue me more to be a part of what's all going in the as far as research in the oncology and hematology world. And I kind of want to be a part of that.
Awesome. The great coders, Heather, they're the ones who do this. I don't want to say crazy, but in their special way. They have that passion and they grab onto it, and they will go down those rabbit holes no matter how hard it may be.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. And how do you, Halee, with the multiple certifications that you currently have, how do you find your CEUs? What's your process for getting your CEUs each period?
Well, my work actually provides one free CEU month, and that's really helpful. but I also attend chapter meetings. That's the other way. It's typically free or $15, really relatively low cost. And you're able to learn about a variety of topics that are very interesting, I think.
Yes,
That's
awesome.
great.
Do you use any of the free options through AAPC? I guess you do the local chapters, but do you do magazine?
I do the magazine too.
Okay. Awesome.
Do you take advantage of any of the webinars or workshops that we offer?
I haven't. I went to HealthCon. That was about as much of a webinar as I've been able to do. But
No, did you like HealthCon? Was it good?
I loved it. I actually was able to win through the Cyber Monday. And
wow.
so I was so excited, and I have already kind of gone through and watched almost all the pre-recorded stuff. So.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's a grab of CEUs in itself right there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's like 18 or something.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of information in 3 days. Like in the end, you're just like so excited to be in this career, but you're just so exhausted from like all the stuff you've learned in the last few days.
So Halee, go ahead, Heather.
Oh, I just was going to follow up on HealthCon. Was the event you attended, was it virtual or was it in person or was it a hybrid? Like, how did you?
It was virtual. It was this past year.
Cool. Do you feel like, I know they have opportunities to meet people. Did you feel like you met people at that HealthCon?
I did actually. I was able to network with quite a few people and have some conversations and network on Indeed or LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn. Not Indeed. LinkedIn with a bunch of the people that I was able to meet and have conversations with. So that was fun.
Good. I think that's like such an important part of these conferences. So
yes.
And those opportunities are what lead people to their next job sometimes.
Yeah.
So you never know where those relationships could lead. And I would just recommend, we've seen student coders show up at conferences. So don't hesitate if you're close to Denver. We have our Denver Regional Conference, and it's depending on when you're watching this. Look on AAPC's website at our events and see if there's a conference happening near you, because just building those relationships are so critical. And it's awesome to see you doing that, Halee.
Thanks.
Now, Halee, we're wrapping up here, but I want to know, what does Halee Garner do in her free time? Are you just completely zoned in on coding, or do you have hobbies outside of your career?
I have a few different hobbies. I actually recently took up CrossFit, so I'm attempting that right now. But another thing I do is I foster animals, and that takes up a good chunk of time. So right now I have 6 foster cats. So just
oh my gosh,
craziness in this house.
You called them your fur babies before we came on.
Yes.
You care for them.
I definitely have a passion for rescue and animal rescue and stuff like that.
So how does that work? So do you care for them and help them find a new home eventually?
Yes. So I'm kind of their interim home. So as soon as they come into the shelter, they'll go to a foster home, and from there they have to get fixed and they have to get vaccinated and all that. And once all that is done and they're up for adoption, they go typically to their forever home after that. So
what a great thing.
But you have two dogs that are yours to stay, right?
I have 2 dogs that are mine and 2 cats that are mine, and then 6 foster cats.
That is a busy house.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Well, Heather, do you have any final questions for Halee?
I don't think so. I'm just, once again, really impressed with like your devotion to learning and catching all these credentials, and congratulations on the new role. That's very exciting, especially since you've always been interested in oncology. That's really exciting that you're in that.
It's hard whenever you're in a position you like. It's hard to make that decision to go ahead and take that next step. But
Halee, if you were to meet someone, or someone reached out to you and say, "Hey, is this the right career for me?" What would you tell them?
I've had that happen, and my typical advice is, first I ask why, because in my opinion, if you're going into this just to work from home, that's probably not the career for you. It needs to be something you're passionate about and you like, and you're willing to grow in. And if that's what you're wanting to do, is find a career that challenges you and you're just passionate about, I think for sure go for it. And I'll help you. I even have offered to, help with those next steps. So.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Awesome to hear. I mean, it sounds like there's plenty of opportunity if you stick with it. You found
Yes.
yours 1,000 miles away from home.
Yes.
And no regrets for moving to North Carolina. You're liking it out there?
Not at all. I'm in the mountains as opposed to the flatlands, so can't
I
complain
have
about
heard
that.
that Asheville has like a surprising number of waterfalls.
Yes, there's a lot of waterfalls around here.
Yeah, I've heard great things about Asheville.
Yeah, it's a pretty area. Really pretty area.
Well, awesome. Halee, thanks for joining us. Heather, thanks for being a part of this. We appreciate it. And Halee, I guess if someone wants to reach out to you and learn more about your story, they can find you on LinkedIn, I'd imagine.
Yes, you can.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And for those who are watching, you can also listen to Halee tell her story on the AAPC podcast. Just go to your favorite podcast app and search for the AAPC podcast, and you'll find past episodes of I Am AAPC, and you'll also find the audio recordings for AAPC Social Hour. So we hope to see you there. And Halee, thanks again, and you have a great day.
Thanks. You guys too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.